Hi guys! So this week we are going to create an avatar, add some animations via MotionBuilder, and bring that into Unreal and play around with those animations a little bit. So I went ahead and already created an avatar in MakeHuman. MakeHuman is an open source and free software to create avatars. So I already made a little avatar right here. And what I want to do is first, I already made sure that she is in a T pose. So if you go into Pose, Animate, Pose, you can find the T pose right at the bottom, right here. That's really the most important thing. Everything else you can do as you like, but it has to be in a T pose. And then we're going to go ahead and export. So we're going to do an FBX file. You want to make sure you give it a name. So we'll call this demo avatar. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to export this avatar. Now really quickly, it's going to say your file path down here. If you don't remember, that's fine. You're going to go into Documents, MakeHuman, V1, Export, and there we have our demo avatar. So we're going to take this and go into Mixamo. Mixamo is the quickest way to rig your avatar. There are lots of ways to do custom rigging, but for today, we're just going to do quick and easy character rigging. So we're going to upload a new character. I'm going to select my character file, and I selected this demo avatar. Now it's not going to bring in any of the textures, so even though she had on a blue shirt and had brunette hair, it's going to come in as all white, which is fine. When we port it into Unreal, all of those textures will come back. So in order to calibrate her, to rig her with a skeleton, very simple. We're going to put the chin on the chin, wrist on the wrist, elbow on the elbow, and I only need to do the left or right side because we have this use symmetry on, which is a nice feature that Mixamo gives us. On the knee and on the groin. All right, that looks pretty good. Go ahead and click Next. And Mixamo has a nice auto rigger algorithm that can take a minute, but it's going to give what was once a sort of meshy blob of skin and materials a rig, and because she has an internal skeleton, we can go ahead and add some animation, which is exciting. All right, great. So now we have a live character. So we have a new character, and if I want, I can have her samba dancing. Very fun. But because I have a lot of motion capture files, we don't need to do that. So she's rigged, she's ready to go. I'm going to download this character. We want to download this as an FBX and as a T-pose. So we'll hit download. And something that's really important whenever I download a rigged character, I don't want to have the same exact name. In order to keep everything detailed and clear, I just remind myself that this character is rigged as opposed to the MakeHuman export, which is not rigged. So rename this and it's downloaded. Great. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up in MotionBuilder, which is also free with any student or university email address. However, it does only run on Windows. So I'm going to go and open that demo avatar that's rigged. And we don't need this take. This is just her standing in a T-pose. It's not super helpful. All right, so now we have our rigged avatar in a T-pose. Perfect. We open up the scene. We can see the Mixamo hips right here. If I go into characters, I can drag the character template right over there. Hit characterize. And I'm going to select a biped. And then we have this characters that pops up in our navigator. If we open it up, here's our character. I'm going to rename this just because everything gets called character and I find that very confusing. So I'm going to call this demo avatar. All right, great. And now we need to bring in an animation file. So I have some motion capture data that I'm going to use. I'm going to use the Smog Ballet. Thank you, Kate. And this is imported, and I'm going to merge this. All right, and if I hit play, I have a really beautiful smog ballet. It's very important that the animation starts in a T-pose because that's how we're going to be able to merge these two together. All right, so bring this back. And if I open up the scene again, I now have Kate, who was the name of my performer. I have Kate hips, and I also want to characterize the hips. So we characterize the Mixamo hips, and now we characterize the motion capture hips. So I'll rename this just to be super duper clear. This is Smog Ballet. So our demo avatar, the input type is going to be character. The input source will be whatever the name of your motion capture file is. And then we're going to hit active. And if I hit play, my avatar is now doing the motion of my motion capture file. Very simple. In order to kind of solidify this process, we're going to say plot character. We're going to do a skeleton and plot. And once that's done, we can go ahead and save this file. So instead of rigged, I'm going to now say that they're dancing. Again, I don't want to have the same file name over and over. It's going to get really confusing for what's what. So I'm just going to be very specific with my file names. And I'm going to go ahead and save. And I don't need this take one. This is just that T-pose. I don't really care. So I'm just going to do the Smog Ballet and hit save. All right, great. And I don't need MotionBuilder anymore. So I am going to go into Unreal, and I'm going to create a brand new project for today. And I don't need Make Human anymore. And I don't need Mixamo anymore. Okay, so I'm going to make a new project, a blueprint, and I'm just going to make a blank project because I'm just going to bring in all of my assets. I don't need any starter content, and I'll say this will be avatar dancing. Okay, great. And I'm going to create project. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our avatar. We're going to look at the skeletal mesh component, look at the animation, and open up some blueprints, have some fun with that. So before I import, I want to create a new folder as a way to stay organized. I'll call this avatar. And before I import any animations, I want to import just that rigged avatar. So this is just the T-pose, no animation. So I'm going to bring this in first. All right, this is going to happen automatically. So I'll say import all. And we're going to bring in all of our materials. So the brunette hair, the graphic of the t-shirt. This is also going to get imported as well. And this can take a minute. All right, great. We don't care about this warning message. So this pink component right here, this is the skeletal mesh. There she is. She's very tiny. Don't worry about it. There she is. So this is our skeletal mesh. We have all of our materials, her eyeballs, her clothing, etc. So then after I import the skeletal mesh, then I want to import the animation. The reason why we do this is, let's say we had 12 different animations for her. Every time I import an animation, I would have to import her eyelashes and her eyebrow and the skeleton and her suit and this high poly material for her eye. And I have to do that every single animation. So I want to do the skeleton and the skeletal mesh kind of as a base, and then we'll bring in all the animations separate without having to bring this in 12, 13, 14 times. So I'm going to find that animation file, demo avatar dancing. We're not going to import the mesh because we don't want to have to bring this in over and over and over. It's automatically going to use this rigged skeleton that we already brought in, and because we rigged this in MotionBuilder ahead of time, it's just going to work perfectly. So we'll go ahead and do import all. And now this green component is the animation. And with any motion capture file, it starts in a T-pose, and while that's great for MotionBuilder, it's not something we really want in our scene. So I'm going to go right until the animation starts, maybe about there. And I'm just going to trim out all of those beginning files. All right, great. I'm going to save, very important. And now when I bring in the animation, she's not going to start with a T-pose. She's going to start doing her performance. All right, so I just dragged her into the scene. I hit play. If I turn around, there she is. Wonderful. Shift F1 brings my mouse back. And I have her in my world outliner. And if I take a look, I have this set as default to looping. So when it finishes the animation, she's just going to start over. And it's also defaulted to playing, which means as soon as I start the scene, she'll immediately start the animation sequence. So if I turn this off and hit play, she's frozen. And it would be really nice if I could initiate this animation sequence whenever I wanted. But there's nothing in the details panel to start the performance whenever I feel like it. So to have that sort of interactive component, we need to look at blueprints. So we're going to go ahead and open up the level blueprint. And if you're familiar with Max or other node-based programming languages, this is going to look fairly similar. So I want to select my dancing avatar in the world outliner. And if I right-click in my blueprint, I can create a reference to my avatar. If you don't see create a reference, make sure that context sensitive is selected and that you have your dancing avatar selected in the world outliner. You need both of those to get this to pop up. So I'm going to create a reference to my dancing avatar, and then I can just say play animation. And I want to trigger this on a key press, so we can do P for play. Makes sense to me. All right, great. So when I press the letter P, it's going to play the animation. And really important, you have to select which animation you want to play. It's not going to automatically know what animation because you could have more than one animation. It's going to search every animation file that's in your world outliner. And since we only have one, that's really easy. So I'll hit compile and save. And I need to give a name to my level. And levels are just how Unreal breaks up different scenes because this is a game engine and games are typically divided by levels. So we'll just say that this is the dancing level. Great. So we hit save, we hit play, find her and hit P, and now she starts dancing. If I hit P again, and again, and again, and again, she's always going to start from the beginning. So, you know, can have some fun with that. But if you want to have a functionality that is more like a pause and a start-stop feature, this isn't going to work. So what do? So sometimes it's nice when you're not sure what's available to you in blueprints to look at the details panel, because for the most part, anything that you see in the details panel is accessible to you in the blueprints. And so while we don't have a pause feature, we do have something called the play rate. So 1.0, this is just playing at a normal speed, but if we set this play rate to 0, we're effectively pausing the animation. So that's what we're going to do. So we can keep this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say set play rate. And turn context sensitive off. Under animation, we're going to do set play rate. You can also use the skeletal mesh component. And if I set the play rate to 0, we're pausing it. So I will do that on key U, and hopefully I remember that. And then I'm just going to copy this. And I'll set the play rate to 1, which is essentially unpausing this. And I'll make this key V. And you can use any key you want. I'm just choosing this at random. And we'll compile. Oh no. Oh, yep. That'd be helpful. Give it a target. All right, great. Try that again. And we're going to save. So P is going to take our dancing avatar and start the animation. U takes the same dancing avatar and pauses it by setting the play rate to 0. And V takes our dancing avatar and effectively unpauses the animation by setting the rate back to 1.0, which is the default. So let's try this out. We'll hit play. P starts our animation. U pauses. V unpause. Pause. Unpause. Pause. Unpause. Pause. Unpause. All right. Great. So something else we can do is we don't have to just have one dancing avatar in the space. We can have a ton of dancing avatars in the space. So I'm going to bring in just a whole bunch of avatars, just like a whole lot of them. All right. That seems like a good amount of dancing avatars. Maybe I'll space this in some kind of configuration. Oh, nope, not the floor. Yeah, sure. Why not, right? This looks good, I think. Yeah, I'm going to commit to this. All right. So we have a whole bunch of dancing avatars, and I'm going to set all of my dancing avatars to not play. And I'm going to hit play, and I have all these dancing avatars. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we can see this a little bit better. And if I hit P, only one of them starts playing. So that reference in the blueprint is only for that specific avatar. It's not for everyone else. So I could go ahead and create a reference for each of these and copy all of this code and paste it 6, 7, 8, however many times. And honestly, I'm probably going to mess that up at some point, and I really just don't want to spend my time doing that much copying and pasting code. So I'm going to utilize variables. So I'm actually going to scratch all of this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say get all actors of class. And I'm going to select all of the skeletal mesh actors. So if we go back into our world outliner, we can see that for all of our dancing avatars under type, each one is listed as a skeletal mesh actor. Now, of course, if you had other skeletal mesh actors that you did not want to grab in this, you could instead use all actors by type tag, and then you could give individual actors a tag, and that's one way to go about this. But for today, I'm just going to grab them all. So I'm going to get all actors of class. I'm going to do this right at the beginning, which also means that if you add any skeletal mesh actors after hitting the play button, they will not be a part of this array. So this is going to spit out an array of skeletal mesh actors. An array is just a fancy way of saying list, if you're unfamiliar. And I'm going to promote this to a variable. So you want to make sure that context sensitive is turned on and promote to variable. So now this variable, which I'll call dancers, is just going to provide an array or a list of all the skeletal mesh actors in my scene. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this, and to get each individual dancer, I'm going to use the get feature. And what I want to do is I want to have each one start dancing at different times. I'm going to have each one start dancing. So every time, let's move this down a little bit. So every time I hit P, which has kind of become my pseudo play button, a different dancer will dance. Now the problem with this code right now is that it's always going to call the first element in the array, or the first dancer, whoever is assigned index 0. And I want a different dancer every single time to start playing. In order to do this, I'm going to do random integer in range. So it's going to just give me a different dancer between the number of 0 and however many dancers I have. Now I could go in and count all the dancers, but you might have dozens or even hundreds of assets to count, and that just seems like a waste of time. So to get around this, we're just going to grab the length of our array, and because we don't want to index out of bounds, we're going to subtract by 1. So let's see, we have 1, 2, 3. I said I wasn't going to count, but just to prove a point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it says 9 right there. We didn't have to count. That's cool, whatever. So I have 9 avatars. But if I call it index 9, I'll get an index out of bounds. So we just want to take the length, subtract by 1, and then we get a random integer in range that doesn't cause some out of index bounds error. We want to make sure, again, that we set this new animation to play. And we should be good to go. So I'm going to hit play. I'm going to back up again a little bit. And if I hit P, one person, a new person, a new person. Now I didn't set this up so that it couldn't repeat numbers. So as you notice, multiple of these avatars will be called in a row, and it's going to take a few more times to get them all dancing. But now I have everyone dancing in the space, and this makes me very happy. One thing I don't love is that I have to reset the camera every time I start. So because we have this player start, every time, so there's our player start right here, every time I start the scene, this is where I'm looking. I really don't want to do this. So I want to get a camera. I'm going to bring this into my world. And if you want to be able to position your camera really quickly, if you right click, you can do pilot camera. And now wherever I stop moving, that's where my camera is going to go. So let's see, maybe a little kind of right there. Tilt it a little more. Oh yeah, I like this angle. I'm just going to hit this button right here. And now wherever I stopped moving, that's where my camera is going to go. Now, in order for this camera to be our default camera, because if I hit play, I'm still stuck at the player start, I need to set that up in my blueprint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use set view target with blend, take off context sensitive. There we go. Now my old target is the player start. In order to get a reference to that, we're going to use get player controller. All right. And then the new view target is going to be that camera. So we want to make sure we can get a reference to that camera. So I selected in the world outliner. Context sensitive gives us that reference. And I want this to happen on event begin play. Now you notice when I connected event begin play to set view target blend, it disconnected from this get all actors of class. So this can only be connected to one node. So to handle this problem, I'm going to use something called sequence. And this allows us to send one pin to multiple nodes. Very nice. Now if I hit play, you might notice this weird orb floating around. It's the player start. Just a really easy trick is just make it hide. There we go. Perfect. So now I have the camera exactly where I wanted it. I'm hiding the player start and it still works. I can hit P if I click my mouse first and they're all dancing. All right. This is great. Something that would be really fun is if I could have like a dramatic camera cut and I could quickly zoom in on someone in the space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this reference to my camera. And I'm going to do set actor relative location. There we go. And we'll put this on key press C for camera. Great. Now in order to get this new location, what I like to do is again pilot this camera. And I'm just going to zoom in on someone. I'm going to zoom in on this person right here. Okay. And then I'm just going to copy the location data and just stick it in there. So I'm just going to X to X, Y to Y, Z to Z. Nice and easy. Great. Compile, save. And I don't want to be piloting anymore, but I also don't want my camera here. So let me just pilot this again. Ugh. Oh, my piloting? Great. All right, where was I? Maybe, I kind of like this view. Let's go here. Okay, so I hit play. I have this nice view. I can start everyone dancing. Let's get everyone moving first. Next time I do this, I won't let them be able to repeat. But it'd be nice. There we go. Oh, that last one's gonna bug me so much. Dance, person in the back. Oh my goodness. There we go. And then if I hit C, boom, we have this nice zoomed in view. All right, and just for fun, we're gonna do one last thing. I wanna have kind of a dramatic finale to this scene. So I think it would be really nice if we could kind of set the mood for this finale. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this light source, and if I rotate our light source, it gets dark. So let's undo that. So I wanna take the light source and move it so it's really, really dark. So the first thing I need to do if I'm gonna move my light source in a blueprint is I have to set the light source to movable. Right now it's stationed, so I can't move it via blueprint. So I'm gonna set it to movable, and I'm gonna create a reference. Do this over here. Create a reference to that light source. And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna set the rotation on this actor. Again, don't know really, this is good. I like this. I'm gonna copy the rotation data over here. One thing to note is if you copy and paste the rotation data is it has the degree symbol, which your blueprint will not like. So we're just gonna backspace that out. And we're gonna take our X, Y, and Z data, not forgetting to delete that degree symbol. All right, so that looks good. I'm gonna bring this back so it's all sunny. Great. Let's save this. And then once it's all dark, it'd be really nice if all of my performers could move together. So I'm gonna just grab this variable again. I could also reference it from over here, wherever it is, but that's really far away. So I'm just gonna keep this nice and organized. So I want all of my dancers to start the dance from the very beginning. To do this, I'm gonna use a for each loop. And for each dancer in my list or array of dancers, I'm gonna have them start the animation sequence. And to make it a little more dramatic, I'm also gonna set the play rate to something really slow. Take off content sensitive. Where's the animation? There we go. And this is also gonna use this as a target. And I can just kind of daisy chain these here. And let's make this something super slow. All right, and we're gonna have this happen on, let's say key T, T for together. And because I need this to set the sun and cause everyone to start dancing at the same time, I'm gonna use that sequence node. It's kind of a bridge. So we're gonna set the sun, a little mood lighting, and everyone's gonna start to dance. And remember, we have to set which animation to play. All right. So, kind of review. This is to do a dramatic camera cut, which maybe we won't do this particular run. When I start the scene, we're grabbing all of our dancing avatars. Every time we hit P, we're grabbing a random dancer and having them play the animation. And we hit T, we're going to have that intense dark lighting, and all of our dancers are going to move together very, very slowly. So let's see if this works. I'm going to hit play. I'm going to hit P. I'm going to click in the scene first. All right, let's get everyone moving. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. All right, everyone's dancing, everyone's moving, and I'm gonna go ahead and hit T, dramatic light with that super slow unison, which is very satisfying. So there you go. That's how you can build an avatar, export it into Mixamo, rig it, bring it into MotionBuilder, and finally have some fun with the animations in Unreal. So hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks.